What is up, savages? That is really dark. There we go. Monero XMR 0.15 and the fork from CN Kryptonite R to RandomX, the CPU friendly version. The algorithm is happening really soon, and I wanted to take a look at it. So let's check it out. All right, everybody. So, pretty much everybody knows that XMR or Monero is forking to RandomX today. It should be probably within the next hour, I guess, hour and a half. I was going to try to stream in a way that at the end of my little talk, would be the actual fork. So maybe we'll hit it. I don't know if we will or not. It looks like I'm going to be a little bit early, but that's okay. So here you see a schedule that was promulgated a couple months ago, and we are currently right here. We're on November 30th of the whole network upgrade. So this has been going on for a while. That they talked about it a couple months ago, and there was a lot of things going on between then and now, but we've come to the point now to where we are going to fork. On block 1978433, XMR will fork to RandomX proof of work algo from Kryptonite R and kick ASICs and FPGAs off the network once again. This algo uses random code execution, which is where it gets its name from, alongside some memory intense functions that aim to reduce the advantage ASICs and FPGAs are enjoying at the moment. RandomX is being discussed as a long-term solution to ease the pain of having to fork Monero every 6 months or so like they have been doing in the past. The changes that will be implemented in this fork, besides just the algo change itself, are deprecating payment IDs to improve privacy. Transactions will now they'll now require 2 outputs, and there's going to be a 10 block lock time for incoming transactions. The payment ID is usually used to identify transactions to merchants and exchanges by tying incoming transactions with a specific user account. You can see here, this is a graph someone created. This is about a month old, so they were just talking about which exchanges that have been contacted and what their current format is, and whether or not that they are actually going to update. Now I don't know if this is like updated all the time, but it looks like it was posted a month ago, so I don't know how accurate this is. I can only assume that some exchange like Binance would certainly have already updated and gotten rid of the payment ID format for the exchange transactions. So at least I would hope so. Since payment IDs will not be supported after the fork, if you're mining to an exchange that uses them and hasn't upgraded yet, you need to change your mining operation to mine to an updated wallet right away, because if you are mining to an exchange, not really recommended, but if you are and they're still using payment ID, I don't think that that's going to work. So be sure to upgrade or change it around to where you're mining to a valid wallet. And instead of payment IDs, they'll now be using only integrated addresses, which actually have embedded payment IDs, or sub-addresses, which is what you should use as an individual. And you can see this on here as well. So as far as the timing goes, it looks like we're down to an hour. Let me refresh this here. Okay, a little bit less than an hour. Currently we're at block 1978404. We got a few to go. They're 2-minute blocks, I believe, not mistaken. So yeah, and then it all comes down, it's all difficulty, the blocks and how long it takes. So there's a few seconds on either side, that usually add up over time. So that's why you have to kind of keep refreshing this, because you see how it just jumped 2 minutes in about 30 seconds. So you have to kind of come in here and keep refreshing it, because it just depends on how often the blocks are being written to the blockchain based on difficulty and all those other factors. So just keep that in mind. You can't just leave it on this and let it run, because you're going to be probably off one way or the other. So you have to refresh. As far as the new algo goes, RandomX is optimized for CPU instruction sets and cache. So the rewards seen even by GPU miners is probably going to fall fairly drastically. AMD third generation, I'm going to get into a little bit of hardware here real quick. AMD third generation Zen 2 Ryzen processors, basically known as the 3000 series, seem to be best suited to absolutely crush RandomX with their 3 levels of cache and 7 nanometer production process, which basically ends up being a very efficient mining of RandomX. And like you see here, there's even folks that are building Ryzen rigs. This guy's freaking awesome. He's got this, I think this is an older video. This, yeah, October. I believe he's got 4. He only has a couple here, I think, but he's got 4 Ryzen 3900s now. So, excuse me, let me get something to drink here real quick. So check out this guy. He's Micro Drone Tech on YouTube. So I think he's got some newer videos as well, but I just want to show this picture here. So that's kind of neat that they're doing stuff like that. Now let's look at some benchmarks. So they came out with RandomX benchmarks website. It's randomx.monerobenchmarks.info. Throw that into the chat here real quick. And what's up, everybody in chat? I'm not really interacting with the chat just right now because I have to get through the info. So this is going to deal with your profitability, and like I said, here's some benchmarks submitted by users for a lot of different devices. You can actually sort by hash and TDP and all. It's kind of neat little sheet here, or not sheet, but website here for this type of thing. I just realized that they had GPU benchmarks too. I didn't know that. I didn't scroll down before. Because what I did, I came in here because I know it's mainly for CPU. So I come in here and hit 100, and then I never even got down to the bottom as I was reviewing this, so I didn't know that they had the GPU benchmarks as well. So that's kind of neat. But if you're looking to buy or compare, the Monero Benchmarks website also has this cool CPU versus CPU feature that you can see here. Since the cost of hash is very important in mining, we're going to look at a couple of affordable options. But if you were looking to buy, you can come in here and just compare two. Like let's say you wanted to go with Ryzen 7 3800 versus an AION or an Intel Core i7. Go with the 8700K. Then it'll throw it down here and a lot of cool information as far as how the benchmarks were run and the results. So kind of neat. And remember, hash per watt is what we're actually looking at optimizing for the most part. I mean, we're going to get into that a little bit in a few minutes, just with why you would buy one over the other, you know, based on this information over here. So we'll talk about that in a minute. The 6-core 12 thread Ryzen 5 3600 should get around 6300 hashes from what I saw on the benchmarks. Now obviously if you overclock, throw more power at it, all those different things, you can get more, but just I think on average it's looking like about 6300 hashes per second, and at 85 watts, and that nets you 75 hashes per watt, and the CPU cost $186 USD. So that means that you're paying about $2.50 per hash. So that's a good way to kind of gauge whether or not you're getting not a good deal, but you're getting a good return on the investment of this buying the CPU if you're looking at only mining Monero after the fork. This one's pretty efficient. I like this model if you were building a rig or something like that, and a Ryzen rig. Then this one is actually a good choice because of that $2.50 per hash, which we'll see in a minute here. So if you go to the middle of the road, the 8-core 16-thread Ryzen 7 3800X, it hashes around 8,000 per second at 100 watts or 80 per watt. But at $330 USD, you're paying over $4 per hash. So, you know, that's way more per hash than the Ryzen 5 3600. So it's all about that cost, you know, and what you're paying for and how many hashes. Now, obviously, there's reasons you would get a higher end CPU, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the monster 12-core 24-thread Ryzen 9 3900X hashes around 14,200, which sounds awesome, but that's at 163 watts, getting you about 87 hashes per watt. But at $530, this one was actually $500 yesterday on Black Friday sale. It was $499, and now it went up to $530. But because it's $530, you're actually looking at over $6 USD per hash. So if you look at per hash and how much it costs, you know, value-wise, then obviously a Ryzen 5 3600 is the best choice. But it all depends on what you're doing with the CPU whenever it's not mining Monero. But as you can see, you know, just because you're hashing faster doesn't necessarily mean you are actually more profitable. What matters is your initial investment and then the return on that investment, your ROI, and that is the correct way of using ROI, in number of hashes per watt, while also factoring in the cost of the CPU. In addition, you also have to consider all the other factors, which I've brought up previously here. What is the intended purpose of you buying the CPU? Are you going to be gaming with it? Are you going to be rendering video? You're going to be streaming? Or is it just for mining? Monero, like we saw in the Monero mining rig build earlier. These are all questions that you have to consider. You know, it's all about the individual and what you are actually doing with the CPU. But as you can see, in my opinion, cost-wise, if you were to build a rig, I probably would go with something like a Ryzen 5 3600, just because of the cost and how much you're paying per hash. So that's the way I look at it. I don't know, some people look at it differently, but you also have to plan for the future too. Like, is something going to change that would make if you could get a Ryzen 9 for, you know, close to this price, then which is not going to happen, but if you could, maybe on a used market or something like that, then these are all things that you have to consider and you have to factor in there. Now let's talk about the actual mining software. Miners that support the new RandomX algo are XMRStack RX version 1.0.0, 1.0.0 or higher, and XMRIG 5.0.1 or higher. Both have some type of a feature to auto-config when the change to the new algorithm happens, as long as you have your parameters and software correct and the pool you're on actually supports it. And more on that in a couple minutes here. There are probably other miners as well, such as SRB miner, but I don't know how many of those are integrated into normal OSs like Hashrate OS or Hive or Simple Mining. Simple mining, I think, only has XMRIG and XMR stack. Just a second here, guys. To check something out here real quick. If you're using XMRIG, it looks like you need to use the parameter --coin space Monero, or if you're using the actual config.json, the JavaScript object notation file, then you would use this method right here where you use coin and Monero. Trying to highlight that. Give me a second here. Why is it not highlighting? Some reason it's not. Anyway, so yeah, if you're using the command line parameters, you would use coin --coin space Monero for XMRIG, and if you're using the JSON, you would use this method right here. I wish it would highlight for me. Not let me draw on there or anything. Right here is what I'm talking about. All right, so coin, Monero, and then the pool config, I believe, has to be algo. This is something on the pool side that they would have to configure in order for any type of automatic switch to actually happen. So this is going to allow the pool to support the new algorithm. At least that's the way I understand it. So if your pool actually supports the algorithm negotiation, you should be able to use it in the miner, and the pool will automatically switch over to the new algo as long as you, I think that XMR stack. Hang on a second, let me go back to XMRIG. All right, so some important notes about XMRIG miner. The project, the XMRIG AMD project, is actually obsolete and will no longer be updated. It's going to be integrated into XMRIG, or it is integrated into XMRIG miner itself, and eventually XMRIG NVIDIA miner will also be integrated as well. Remember, just not that long ago, you would have XMRIG was for CPU only, XMRIG AMD was for AMD GPUs, and XMRIG NVIDIA was for NVIDIA GPUs, and you had 3 different XMRIG miners. And it looks like what they're going to work toward is having just XMRIG, and that's it. And it will be able to support all the different platforms. So they also have a configuration wizard. This is xmrig.com/wizard, and you can use it, to help acquire the correct configuration. So you can come in here, and this can work for different, all kinds of different things. So it includes hash vault, support XMR, and mine XMR pools. We'll choose this one just to go through the process here real quick. You would put your actual Monero wallet address in there, and then the worker name would be, whatever you want it to be. I'll just do it like this to make it look nice. It automatically configures it for TLS. I think you have to tell it not to. You don't want that. So then you click on backends. This is going to be CPU only now if we're talking about RandomX. Miscellaneous, you can donate, you can change that to whatever you want. And then the result. So the result will show you what to use for your various platforms. You got command line here. If you're using command line, this helps with simple mining, and this would help with HiveOS if you're configuring for those particular mining operating systems. And then you also have Linux and Mac OS down here for the different command line options. So this is just helpful in figuring out what you should put for you know, your coin or you know, the various settings. So pretty handy little utility there. And as far as XMR Stack RX goes, it's a free RandomX miner. Free meaning that there's no dev fee. And it looks like it requires it requires 3 gig of memory. There are instructions on this site here. Let me post this over there in the chat. So there are instructions here for how to configure it. You'll have to blast down through here, you know, pre-fork instructions. Now some of this might be a little bit late because there's this utility here. It's called, I forget, the RX switcher that is included, and you can actually have it switch from XMR Stack now to, if you're mining Monero now with XMR Stack, then you can have it switch to XMR Stack RX at the fork using RX switcher, so that it'll shut down your XMR Stack and fire up your XMR Stack RX and start mining, right? So this is especially useful, or it would have been especially useful ahead of time if you are going to be out and about whenever the fork takes place, or you were going to be asleep. So, but anyway, let's go back over here and check the timing here. We got, let me refresh that. 43 minutes. All right. So yeah, so check out XMR Stack as well. It's a free miner. I think it's created by PsychoCrypt from that team, from the XMR Stack team. All right, so let's look at some Monero related mining information. There was basically, originally, I mean, this is just important stuff for people looking to mine it. You know, it's important information regarding the actual currency itself. But there was no pre-mine or insta-mine, no ICO, no pre-sale. It currently uses Kryptonite R. The block times are about 2 minutes with dynamic adjustment. The current XMR rewards appear to be 2.128 per block. You can see that down this on the Block Explorer, where you have outputs, and you can kind of, you know that, you know, everything else is like stealth addresses, but these are like Coinbase entries. So this is what it looks like the current block rewards are, about 2.128 per block, and you can kind of see that over here too as well. Yeah, 2.13 it says on what to mine. And the max supply of Monero is actually infinite, but on the emission side, the first main curve, it should end up with about 18 million coins by the end of May 2022. Then there'll be a tail curve emission of 0.6 XMR per 2-minute block, and that kicks in once the main emission is done. And that translates over into less than 1% inflation decreasing over time. And Monero also has the stealth addresses and ring CT privacy features. So let's take a quick look at the hash rate currently. Go to a year here. So you can see the previous forks, the run-ups. This is probably, you know, ASICs and FPGAs or whatever coming online, cranking up, and then they forked here. So they've been pretty steady ever since. So if you want to monitor what's going on the network, you could come in here and refresh, you know, and you can see this should drop pretty significantly after the fork, which is in 40 minutes, it looks like. 41 minutes. So you could come in here and check that out as well. And then down here at the bottom, this is on 2 miners. And then down here at the bottom, they also have a network difficulty, so you can click there. This should drop as well. Don't know how much, not even gonna guess. I was pretty accurate with the Ravencoin fork, but I'm not, I don't mind Monero that much, so I'm just not really in tune with, you know, what the anticipated drop is gonna be. So I'm not gonna even guess at that. You can also go over to miningpoolstats.stream to find out what miners or what pools are available. Do a little refresh here. The hash rate for Monero is spread out really nice. Not a lot on one particular pool. And if you were testing RandomX, they actually did stand up a RandomX testnet pool where probably people were connecting to this in order to test their hardware, you know, for the whole benchmarking and all that stuff. So this is kind of cool that they came up with this. But again, a little late now. It's only 40 minutes away, so but I just figured I would point that out. Alright, so I'm going to hop over here in the chat and see what you guys are talking about. What's up, Red Panda? DG, Eric, Daniel, there's a lot of y'all in there. Deadwood, what's up? Jancoin, what's going on, man? So is anybody mining Monero right now? Because I'm not. And I don't even have any hardware. Like I need to I need to upgrade my machine, which I was looking at earlier. You know, Ryzen processors and stuff. So maybe if I get like a 3800 or something, maybe I will mine some Monero whenever my machine's not doing anything else. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, a Ryzen 7 2700. Let's check that out. So right now it's $140 roughly. So if it's $140, now we'd have to go to the benchmarks. Okay, so we'll call it 5,200, 5,300 average, okay. So if you take, and what's the power at that? That's at 100 watts, 105 watts. Let's see if I can do this live. All right, so you're at 5,300 divided by 105. So that's 50 hashes per watt. Then you would take, what was the cost? 139. Divided by 50. So that's about $2.80 per hash, which is not bad. That's down there with that Ryzen 5, you know, pretty close. I would imagine that these numbers here are I mean, like this one is water cooled, you know, it's kind of like where I took the number from, but they do have your numbers down here as well. They got, you know, just a straight up 47 here and a 4,000 here. So it all depends on, I mean, there's a lot of different factors. We all know this. There's a lot of, there's the motherboard, you know, there's, you know, your cooling, your overclocking, all those different things come into play here. There's real good documentation on how to configure like overclocking and stuff like that. If you look for it, there's a lot of good information out there on how to do it for optimizing. Yeah, I'm showing some dropped frames as well. I'm going to exit out of some of the stuff I've got going on over here. I shouldn't have closed that one. I just have so many open windows right now. Stop flashing the screen for you guys. "33 minutes. Okay. If you are dual mining, like CPU and GPU, you would have to run, I think the way I've done it in the past is you have to run 2 different miners. So no, it would not, they're totally separate. I mean, there might be some sharing of the memory, the system memory, like 4 gig or 8 gig or whatever you've got, or 16 or whatever. But as far as affecting one another, it shouldn't. Yeah, it's probably a lot of the thing. I was probably cutting out there because I had so much going on my computer, but hopefully it's steadied up now. Can RX 570s mine RandomX? I wouldn't. Let's see here. Let's go 570. So it looks like it gets 496 hashes at 90 watts. That's on Linux though. So I would not recommend it just because it's just too inefficient. But you could. I think the XMRIG, it says DG is saying there XMRIG and XMR stack will work on it. I mean, you can mine with it, but it's not going to be very profitable at all. Whenever I was mining it, there for a while, I just had it running just because I had done a video on how to set it up. But I mean, I was trying to mine it on a, actually, what was I doing? I was mining Monero on the CPU, but I have Celerons, you know, a normal old mining rig setup, GPU mining rig setup. So it was horrible, but I just left it running just because, you know, just to, whenever I would switch over to Hive OS, I could show, you know, those two running at the same time, so it was kind of cool. So I think that the best question right now would probably be, what do you think people should switch over to because obviously a 570 rig is not going to be great. We can look at Vega as well. A lot of people have Vegas that mine Monero, and I mean, yeah, you look at the cost, the hashes here per and how much power it draws. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible for mining RandomX. So, what should people switch their Vegas over to, their RXs over to? If you were to ask me, I like Conceal, obviously. You guys know that about me. I like Conceal and also Rio. These would probably be, if I had Vegas and I was looking for what to mine next, it would definitely be CCX or Rio. But let me know in the comments or in the chat here what you guys would think would be best to run your or point your rigs at now. If you had a Vega rig or RX rig, what are y'all going to be doing with them? So do y'all want me to put up the countdown timer here and refresh it from time to time? Because I'm pretty much done with like the content. I just wanted to talk about what RandomX was and how it works with profitability and all your calculations that go into whether or not, you know, you should buy what CPU and all that stuff, and show you a couple of the resources for the benchmarks and stuff like that. That's kind of really all I wanted to do. I'm not a huge Monero fan or anything like that. I'm just kind of doing this just because. I can leave this up and I'll just go ahead and stream. I'll leave it up. I'll mute my mic and stuff and leave it running. And what I'll do is I'll also bring up the network hash rate as well, so that we can kind of keep an eye on that. I'll go to a month here, and let's go difficulty as well. We'll look at a month there. So what I'll do is I'll just let this run, and I will come back from time to time and refresh it and go over to the hash rate and refresh that, and then the difficulty and refresh that, and we'll see what it goes to. So let me document here real quick what we're looking at. So we've got, right now we're at 266.88 hash rate. So I'm just going to put that into the chat over there. You have a large 3900X farm? Woo! Yeah, Loki was really bad too on GPUs. It's just awful. They went to RandomX also, so that's why, you know, everything was really bad. I even did a video on it. I did a stream about it, and it was really bad. I was actually, because I did it live, so I was looking at it, I'm like, that doesn't seem right. Then it dawned on me, I'm like, wait a minute, this is RandomX. You know, it's for CPUs. So anyway, yeah, I kind of overlooked that in the stream there. Yeah, I was using RX 580s, I think, whenever I was doing the Loki video. All right, so that's the hash rate, and let's save the difficulties. 3316. Just so that we have those numbers documented for looking at it after the fact. Yeah, it's like Loki RX, I think, yeah. All right. Yeah, so no one knows about like profitability or anything like that just yet because, you know, it hasn't forked yet, so you don't know what the difficulty is going to go down to and how it's going to affect everything. So just kind of have to wait this out. And remember, if it drops quickly, remember it's all averaged out. So if it drops quickly, and it probably will, then you might not see that first block for quite some time. So you might get some really weird indications, almost like things are hung up. We saw that with the Ravencoin fork, where it took like 32 minutes, I believe, for the next block after the fork. So, it's all basically averaged out over time. So if the difficulty drops drastically, then it's got to compensate for that, and it'll push the block time out. Alright, so it's only about 20 minutes, and then we'll be good. Jason, it's not really a time, it's a block. So it's supposed to activate at 197.8433, and we're at 197.8423 right now, so that's 10 blocks. 10 blocks at 2-minute blocks is 20 minutes, about, but remember each block is adjusted, the difficulty is adjusted, so it could be a little bit sooner or a little bit later. But I'm guessing it's going to be right around 2:05 my time, somewhere around in there. Yeah, I think that most of the pools that support Monero are definitely on board with this change. They aren't just letting it slide, So I would imagine that they're all doing what they need to do to make it work. But it also depends on the miner, I believe, too, that you're using, so. Yeah, see right here it says if you are using XMRIG, this pool supports auto algo configuration, which we talked about that. That would be where you put the coin being Monero, remember, into the command line or the config.json. That's how that would work. So instead of, I think it used to be probably some type of CNR or Kryptonite R or something like that. Now it should just say Monero, basically. So I believe that where you used to put Kryptonite R would now just be Monero. I think that's the way it'll work. Since I have 22 people in here, or 21 probably, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel because I do content like this all the time. Every night, basically, every weeknight. Sometimes on the weekends like I'm doing now if something special is coming up. So yeah, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell and all that junk. And also follow me on Twitter. Over here I kind of keep you updated on what's going on with the channel, and oftentimes I'll be tweeting about crypto type stuff, so keep that in mind as well. And it's just SavageMine on Twitter and SavageMine on YouTube. Well, all one word. Ooh, we jumped up. Look at that, 9 minutes. Went from 15 to 9 pretty quick. It's really cool to see that like live, right? Because you're watching the blocks and then you're seeing that there's an adjustment, you know, that's kind of neat. And then the difficulty should be changing as well. Yeah, see, it kind of went down a little bit. That's probably why we got a little bit quicker block time there. See, it's dropping a little bit. I wish this would stay on day after I select it, but whenever I refresh it goes back to all time. I think that this has I think it does refresh from time to time on its own. Ooh, 5 minutes. 6 minutes. It's not exactly like watching the timer, the countdown for New Year's, because it changes. But yeah, I get what you're meaning there. Does anybody know of a resource that would show me? I guess I had, let's see, Monero Block Explorer, I guess, maybe. I guess it's not going to say. We're at 197.8411. That's a little off because right here it's showing 430. I don't know what to believe. Yeah, it's changing a little bit now. It went up in time. Keeps going back up to 5 minutes. This must not be a good source because it's 36 minutes ago. Close that. Oh, getting close. It took a long time for it to refresh that last time. We're on the block. According to this, we're on the block right now. 1978433. We're actually on it right now. I'm gonna go here and refresh a few times. I know that there's some averages that these types of websites take as well, so sometimes it takes some additional time before it actually shows up. Yeah, like if you have your stuff already set up to switch, it probably already did. But these websites are going to be just a little bit behind on showing the actual rate. All right, so it says RandomX here, so that's cool. Good job, Interceptor. That's awesome to see. 5,000, that's not bad. Big Crypto Dave. Yeah, I would put them on something else for sure. I would not try to mine Monero RandomX using a 570 or a 580. Just not going to be profitable at all. It's CPU. Yeah, RandomX is CPU only. If you were going to mine something with GPUs, RX 570s, 580s, Vegas, all that stuff, I would say Rio or CCX. I kind of want to see these numbers drop before I get off of here. Now it takes some time because I use averages. $268 network hash rate. Yeah, see, like it didn't even, so far it hasn't changed. I mean, this changed to RandomX here. So again, though, it's got to take some time. All right, that's cool info there, DG. Thanks for that. iOS updated automatically. Coin wares. Wars. Well, I mean, I guess it's possible that, I mean, according to this, if you look at the actual chart here, I mean, I guess after maybe, again, I'm not that familiar with Monero. I don't mine it that much, so, I mean, I have some, and I have mined it before, but it's been a while. I suppose that this could be pretty normal, and this is probably what you're going to see as an overall hash rate, and maybe it's already adjusted and everything, so. It looks like it's been somewhat steady for quite some time. I guess this was after the last fork, and then nothing has really happened since. So maybe there weren't ASICs and FPGAs and all that yet. right? Like there were back here, and possibly right here, and right here. Alright, well, we'll keep an eye on it. I am not going to sit around here and watch this anymore. I will leave it up, you know, on my screen and stuff, and check it out in a little while. See if it changed any. But I'm suspecting that it's not really going to. Just based on, you know, how steady it's been over time here. And remember, this was a switch to RandomX for the future, basically, right? So that they don't have to keep doing these hard forks, because it's chaotic whenever it happens. So that's the whole goal of RandomX. Whether you agree with it or not, you know, whatever. It is what it is at this point, because it's what's implemented. So we'll have to deal with it one way or the other. But if you found this video helpful or entertaining at least, be sure to subscribe, like, share, and all that stuff. Click the notification bell. And let's also keep this conversation going down in the comments below. Let me know what you're going to be mining with your RX rigs or your Vega rigs. Let me know what you're going to be throwing your hash power at. And let me know what you think about the Monero fork and going to RandomX. And that's all there is to it. I will see you guys next time. I don't know when I'll be live next, probably Monday, but no doubt. Stay savage, everybody. Stay safe and all that stuff.